It was a few days ago, after I had met Eron, a former classmate of mine. I was walking from the warehouse where I worked as a longshoreman and sometimes as a watchman, and I met an old friend whom I hadn't seen since graduation. A lot of water had flowed over those 9 years. I managed to enroll and drop out of university, changed a few low-grade jobs, and met a girl, a blue-eyed beauty named Jessica. Jessica is 5 years younger than me, from a poor family, but with a strong character, which helped me to take life more seriously. Gave up the unpromising idea of higher education and went to work. Moved from my parents to a rented apartment, but I can't pay yet without their help. We had a good time with Eron in the park. We talked about life for half an hour. He talked more, and I listened and was a little bit struck by the contrast of his life and mine. Ever since high school, he was the one to whom everything was easy and simple. His studies, with his silver medal, and the girls who were so attracted to his sharp tongue, tall and athletic body. Oh yes, he was also a weightlifter, with really broad shoulders. All the boys at school respected him for his achievements at least, and even feared him. And now he had some kind of trucking company and a brand new black SUV. I don't remember what brand. I never cared about that. The SUV looked more like a bus, with giant wheels, tall, which we walked to before we said goodbye. I walked home excited and depressed at the same time. Needless to say, I told Jessica about the meeting, who was mildly delighted. She knew right away that such a useful new old acquaintance was not to be missed. Jessica literally forced me to write him, as my male self-esteem was resisting, and I didn't know what excuse to start the dialogue with. But it didn't turn out to be hard. After asking him about his plans for the next weekend, we agreed to meet in pairs to sit somewhere. Jessica spent a long time showing off in front of the mirror, even though she had been fully prepared for 2 hours. She seemed to want to get to know him more than I did, and she probably did. And anyway, if it wasn't for her vein, I'd still be snapping at the computer or drinking beer while watching The Simpsons for the 10th time or something. Helpful acquaintances. How disgusting that sounds to me. I never thought I'd be one of those people who look for profit everywhere. But it seems that's the only way things work in this world. Eron picked us up, and we drove to our regional center, because according to him, there was no decent place to rest in our home village. It took about an hour to drive, but we got there in about 30 to 35 minutes. It was more comfortable inside the Jeep than on the sofa at home, and there was even a TV and pillows. Eron must have lived to be the envy of the men around him. Jessica and I looked like brown-skinned rednecks with burning eyes, riding in non-budget level transportation for the first time. Eron was dressed all in white, a t-shirt with a small brand logo, sports shoes, and high snow-white sneakers, his girlfriend Jasmine, to match the seats, in leather pants, and with a languid, indifferent look, looking somewhere in the distance on the evening road. The chosen place did not look like a decent place, some back alley with garbage. But as we walked inside through the corridor, I began to hear powerful bass and voices, and behind another door, a huge guard met us. Eron slipped him money, and we entered. There was a large red-colored hall, I think even with a striptease, but I did not see any strippers, only a pretty busty barmaid and some men at the tables smoking and drinking. I tried not to turn my head and pretended that I was familiar with the place. Eron was probably not new here. He walked confidently and without looking around. We reached the edge and turned. There was an inconspicuous door leading down the stairs to some kind of basement. VIP room, as Eron summarized to us. It was already quiet in there. The music was almost inaudible. Floor lamps were lit. There was a gorgeous black leather sofa and the same 2 armchairs, between which was a low carved wooden table, on which a little later we were brought alcohol and many snacks with hookah. Gradually the stiffness went away. We talked about general distracted topics. We remembered a little about school. Again, mostly Eron spoke, of course. We had drinks and snacks. The girls sang a few songs at karaoke in front of the big screen TV. We chatted and drank again. Eron's mouth was almost open. He had interesting stories to tell for the rest of his life, and he didn't seem to brag on purpose, but I just got tired of envying. He'd been everywhere and met everybody, and he was on short terms with everybody, and Jessica just needed it. She was catching his every word, trying to make sure he didn't miss anything important. I felt a kind of nasty jealousy, though I'd never been jealous. I was already pretty stoned, unlike Eron, who seemed to be especially affected by the alcohol, and he only became more active and alert. After a while, he called someone with a happy face, and just a couple of minutes later, a girl came to us with a tray. On it was some kind of Japanese salad, which the girls liked so much. The waitress was not an ordinary waitress. After putting the salad and putting the tray by the wall, she took off her blouse, to the delight of Eron, who knew for sure that she was a stripper. The girl was very young, and she got rid of her skirt as well, exposing her cleavage for us to see. She danced for us, very skillfully, taking the hottest positions. Jessica was all red with embarrassment, but did not say anything, and Jasmine looked at the girl more appreciatively and at the grapes. Of course I liked it as a man, but it was embarrassing in Jessica's presence. I pretended to like her skill more than her prominent breasts and round ass. Later we decided to play poker. Eron called again, and they brought us a poker set. Already a different girl. She was more usual looking and older than the previous one. But I still tensed up in anticipation of another surprise and exhaled with relief when she left. Not that I was good at poker, but I knew the rules and had a little online experience, and I just didn't want to lose face in front of Eron anymore. I did not have much money with me. I took it just in case, but I did not plan to spend it just for a game. Eron insisted that it was boring to play for fun, so he lent me 20,000, with the condition that if I lost I would not have to give anything back. Jasmine joined us, and Jessica decided to just watch, because she didn't know how. Naturally, I lost everything fast. Eron was unreal luck here too. Every other deal he was flush. Then he was making three of a kind against my set of kings. Jessica persuaded me to continue playing with our money, and I fell for it, throwing it away for no good reason too. I was down in the dumps and swore. "Well, I hope you can give us a ride home, because we don't even have cab fare anymore," I said as if in jest. "Come on, Ford." Eron took another shot of tequila. "Yoke it even." "Yeah, with what?" "Look, let's go one-on-one. You win. Everything on the table is yours." "How about that? And if I lose, I'll clarify. And if you lose, Jessica will dance for us." He smiled broadly and stared at my Jessica. "What do you mean? Like a dance?" I didn't get a chance to finish before Jessica interrupted me, but more as an excuse that she didn't know how to dance and was no match for a stripper. I sat there a little stunned, not knowing how to react, but it all turned into laughter and discussion of Jessica's figure. And her decal was really okay, size 3 and a nice shape, but damn, it's still some trash. Jasmine took it all the same indifferently, but then said that Jessica could do it, that she herself would definitely dance worse than her. Thank God mine wasn't that drunk yet and flatly refused. But the easy money turned her head, and she agreed to show a decal. With general laughter, Eron dealt the cards, and I did not understand whether this is normal and whether it is necessary to be negative about it. In general, there is probably nothing wrong with it, I thought with the rest of my sobriety. If I win, I'll ask Jasmine to show me the decal and see what he says. I got a pretty good card, strengthened by 2 pairs. Luck runs out sooner or later, it can't last forever, I thought, and it makes no sense to pass. I defiantly pushed Jessica to the table. She stood up and laughed and opened her mouth in anticipation. I opened and happily anticipated my winnings, though it was hard to tell by Eron poker face. As soon as he received his cards, his expression changed to brick and it was unreal to read. He silently, slowly spread his cards out on the table and said, "Full house." No way. I cursed with surprise and injustice. Well, cannot be so lucky all the time and in everything. What a nonsense. Of course, I did not say it aloud, but probably it was clear on my sharp reaction. What, you won? Jessica asked Eron incredulously. Of course I did. I shrieked again, answering for him. You're lucky. Congratulations. Jessica congratulated him embarrassedly and wondered, what's here? Now? She asked him, looking back at me and Jasmine, who didn't seem to care that her boyfriend wanted to look at someone else's girl's decal. Heh, tomorrow's fine. Whatever you want. Eron grinned and poured a new shot for me and himself. I wasn't thirsty at all anymore, but I drank to refill this poker misunderstanding. Jessica, with glistening eyes and a wet face, wrinkled in place a little, then moved a little farther away from the table and removed the loops of her dress, shined up even more, and turned slightly away from me. Maybe something else? She asked, fidgeting and hiding her shame with a smile. Come on, we're all friends. No one's coming in, Eron assured her. Relax, Jasmine said. Do you want to go topless together? I don't know if she meant it, but it was only fair, and I wouldn't mind looking at her bodaciousness while she was at it. Maybe this plaque of arrogance and puffiness would be a little removed from her face. But Eron objected that he had already seen everything there, and it was not interesting, not asking the opinion of others, and I, unlike him, even drunk, could not afford to ask another woman to undress. Jessica decided to do it, and the top of her dress slid down to her waist. Free of the bra, she turned to us with a mute question, and I began to feel sorry for her. Okay, that's enough. I got up from the couch, but no one really reacted. Only Jasmine muttered something like, "Come on, what's the big deal?" and went on to her graves. Your wife has a great figure, Eron said. Jessica thanked him and squared her shoulders a little more and put her bra back on. Her reaction was a little stilted. I guess everyone thought it was an odd idea. And so did I. Jasmine didn't care. Only Eron alone was pleased, which didn't seem right. No, 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 no. He wailed. Don't be. What are you? Such a beauty. Man, what are you? No, I can't do that, said Jessica. Well, look, we're in here. We're sitting pretty. Forward, tell her. And I'm so fucked up, I didn't know what to say. Look, let me give you everything. Eron continued, putting emphasis on the word, everything. He slipped me all his chips, hoping to buy my Jessica's naked breasts for the money. If it hadn't been for the fog in my head, I probably would have at least thrown them in his face and walked away. Eron, no offense. I got up again and tried to refuse him with a foggy tongue. Well, wait. Jessica interrupted me. Then you forgive all the debt. I do. Eron was right there with her. Like a fool, I sat back down, trying to hold back the last drops of dignity. Jessica sat down next to me. That's not right. Only her man should see that. Only me. We continued to talk as if nothing had happened. Well, as we did. Eron and sometimes Jasmine with Jessica. His mouth spewed an endless stream of eloquence and bravado, and his eyes were devouring Jessica's body. I still have a hard-on. Eron suddenly changed the subject and rubbed his groin unceremoniously through his shorts. Have you seen enough striptease? I asked. Sure, but it's not that. It's not real, you know. Well, yes. Jasmine agreed again without any emotion as she sat deep in her phone. Just a little girl sitting there doing nothing and sexy. He pointed at Jessica. Thank you. Jessica thanked him shyly for the compliment, if you could call it that, and smiled, now used to the sight of her. Hey, can you take this off? He waved a few times toward the dress hanging from his waist. Take it off. What are you? Jessica froze. Look, you're wearing panties, aren't you? Well, yes. She answered the indecent question after a moment. Well, no one will see anything like that, please, Jessica. Ah. Eron remembered something and reached for his wallet. quickly pulled out $300 or $400 bills and threw it to the rest of the pile of ruble chips. Without paying any attention to me, they agreed, and Jessica, pink and red, got up and took off her dress over the top. She was wearing the expensive white lace panties I had given her for March 8. She only wore them on special occasions. If only I had known then what kind of occasion was in store for us. What a clever girl, class. Eron gave her a thumbs up and sat third on our couch. Jessica moved closer to me. I looked at her bare legs and her protruding tummy. How could she really not care? She'd do anything for dough. I wanted to tell her everything, but I could not here and now. I thought about how I would reprimand her at home, what kind of scandal, and let her do what she wants and live with Eron. Don't be afraid, I won't touch. Anton raised his hands for a second. Nothing like that. Listen, I'll give you more. He took his wallet and slowly counted out exactly 5 francs. Will you take off your panties? He went on. What do you mean? I mean he'll take them off. I grumbled, whether it was the alcohol or my newfound courage. Ford deigned to pay attention to me, my girlfriend. How is it possible? Are you crazy? I blurted out on my own. Damn, Ford, do not swear. Jessica told me off in a stern tone. Did you see how much is there? She whispered in my ear. There really were several of my monthly salaries in there. But just how is it? What the hell is going on here? I noticed that spark in her eyes again, that vein greedy for money. How this angelic blue-eyed calf had this abomination in her, willing to do anything for extra profit. Jessica seemed to read all the pain and rejection in my eyes and refused. I was even overcome with pride. The alcohol only warmed all my emotional outbursts, and I blurted out, Aha! But to you, she's not. Come on, we're just having fun. Eron spoke so simply and easily about it. I invite it now, too. And how is he still sober and so energetic after all this? Look, do you want me first? He jumped up and got rid of his pants and underwear in an instant, leaving me in just a t-shirt. Why don't you kiss him then? Eron said as he approached her, and my Jessica agreed and did what he asked her to do. I jumped to my feet, my eyes blurred, and I got dizzy and grabbed the back so I wouldn't fall. The extra few shots of tequila were too much. I should have slowed down sooner and not tried to keep up with Eron with his filter station instead of his stomach. After taking a little breath and wiping my eyes with my hand, I left the table. I used to think Jessica wasn't the amateur type, nurturing and natural shyness and all that, but now it was clear that it was more about me. I stepped aside and staggered into the chair across from her. How long will you be? I was indignant in my voice, though I knew in my drunken brain that no one was going to take me into account. Jasmine seemed to glance in their direction and, sitting comfortably in her chair, continued to look something enthusiastically on the phone. I was ignored, of course, but Eron and his new girlfriend were talking about something I couldn't hear. Jessica smiled a little at him and said something quietly. I couldn't sit there any longer and went outside looking for the bathroom. I don't remember how long I looked for it. I only came to my senses when I washed my face over the sink with cold water. After taking a couple of sips, I went to find my way back. After wandering down the corridor for a couple of minutes, I found the door. I was expecting to see something scary, but it seemed to be over. Jessica was sitting alone on the couch, dressed and looking in the mirror. What, was that it? Or have I wandered longer than I thought I would? Where is everyone? I asked. Now they will come. Her tone changed. I recognized that sweet girl again, and I was relieved. She looked at me with pity. Why are you so worried? Well, nothing so terrible happened. She folded her mirror and crossed her arms over her chest. Jessica really did look guilty, and she knew it was horrible. It's not like I slept with him. She continued her excuses in a half voice. But look how much money we made for this nonsense. A couple of minutes later, Eron and Jasmine returned. They had brought another bottle of cognac or something. I felt faint at the thought, but Eron must have been ready for another shot. He excitedly put it on the table and clapped me on the shoulder. "Are you all right?" "Fine. And you were afraid. All is well." He answered his question, seeing in my eyes bewilderment. And I just wanted to go home now and just lie in bed and nothing else. Leaving for tomorrow, all that I had accumulated today, all the words, all the thoughts. No sooner had I gathered the rest of my strength to tell her we were going home than Jessica got up and asked where she could find the ladies' room. "Let's go." Jasmine was the first to respond, and the two of them walked out. I didn't want to be alone with that creep, but it was better than leaving him with Jessica. Eron slapped himself on the legs and stood up for the bottle. He tried to sell me a new shot, but I defiantly refused. I was disgusted with him and all he had to offer me. Come on, it's no big deal. Maybe in his world it is the norm, but not in mine. In any adequate world, it is not a fucking norm. I did not spread her legs, right? I was being friendly, right? He went on with his bullshit, which I didn't give a shit about anymore. The door opened and Jasmine walked in, and I was glad I didn't have to sit with him in private anymore. As she walked past him, Jasmine got her hand on her and only glimpsed a glimpse of me as she reacted. Jessica still wasn't coming back. It must have been 10 minutes. I was getting worried. Eron was drinking himself, snacking on his sandwiches. He kept talking about something, ignoring my hatred for him. Jessica was still gone, so I got up and asked Jasmine where to find her. To the left and around the corner, you'll see a door." Jasmine answered without taking her eyes off the phone. She was talking to a man there, she clarified, seeing my concern.